Looking for something to read? Well, these are the books that I've written. Hop on down to the description to find the Amazon links for all 4 of them, and keep your eyes open for more in the future. With that said, on to the video. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Omni viewer, and we're finally moving into the second half of Skull Island with episode 5, which again feels like an episode where there's a lot of setup, but not a whole lot of payoff, because we got payoff at the beginning of the episode, seeing what happens when they run that risky plan to somehow get the bird to get Dog away from Annie. But beyond that, it's a lot of exposition, a lot of spending time listening to these characters spew more of that asinine dialogue. Yeah, where to begin? Okay, so there is something I need to actually say about Cap. I might have to change my opinion on him, because in discussion with someone else about this series, they pointed out that throughout the whole time they've been on the island, Cap has displayed very little urgency in trying to find Charlie. Like, it's his son. He really wants to find him, presumably, but he doesn't really seem all that concerned for the most part. He's mostly just taking in all the wonders, going ooh and ah at everything he sees on Skull Island. And once that was pointed out to me, I looked back and I thought, okay, so he has mentioned trying to find Charlie maybe a couple of times, but for the most part, yeah, that's a pretty accurate observation. They even point out in this episode that he isn't really seeming that urgent to find Charlie, although that's after the fact, after the soldiers have picked up Mike. But prior to that, what's his excuse? I'm now starting to wonder if I wound up gravitating towards him because he was genuinely likable, or because he was just the least objectionable of the bad characters. I really don't know anymore, but that was like the one thing I was holding on to this whole time, and now I just can't unthink this particular bit. So that's unfortunate. Speaking of Mike, though, his injury is finally having an effect. Yeah, I didn't really mention it the last couple of times because it only ever seemed to play a part in the episodes when it was dramatically relevant to do so. But he has been injured. He was injured by that squid thing, and it's been steadily having an effect on him. Now it's finally coming to the surface where he can't just ignore it anymore. Yet for some reason he's also still been acting like there's nothing wrong, keeping it to himself. But that's not even the dumbest thing Mike does, of course. The dumbest thing that happens in this whole episode is that he tells Charlie to stay behind so he can turn himself in. I'm not exactly sure what his plan was there, because Charlie is like totally useless. What exactly did he expect him to do? Even acknowledging that it was a bad decision doesn't make it any less of a bad decision. It really does kind of feel like they both wrote themselves into a corner and wanted the story to go in a particular direction, so they just sort of cobbled this together and never bothered trying to make it seem more cohesive. Yeah, now the plot writing is on equal footing with the dialogue writing. Oh boy. There is also another plot point alluded to, one that I was kind of suspecting, but I didn't say anything just because I was gonna wait and see. Cap seems to put together that Doc/Irene, or whatever her name is, and Annie are somehow connected. I think what they're going for, again, I haven't seen the whole series yet. I am literally doing this as I watch the episodes. Seems like what they were going to say is that she's her mother, which would make a lot of sense because they do look similar, and they both have that sort of social awkwardness thing, but manifesting differently. But you know, that kind of felt like an obvious twist, so I don't know. I'm pretty certain that's what they're gonna say, but is it actually gonna work out in the end? We'll see. I'm skeptical right now based on how this show has been going. And there's also the big reveal that apparently Mike and his father were hired by this other team to go out looking for the island, which honestly kind of feels like it came out of nowhere. Like, they did set up that Mike and his dad knew about Skull Island before, because they were buying the map and everything, but they didn't actually hint at any sort of connection that they had to these soldiers and the dock. At least not as far as I can remember. It didn't seem that way. So, how is that going to play out? At this point, I'm not even sure I really care, to be honest, because why would I? I don't like these characters. I don't really care about what's happening to them. All the stuff with Charlie and Dog, I guess is stuff they wanted to do, but again, not really feeling any connection to them, so I don't really care about that. Why is everyone singing this show's praises again? I see a lot of people saying they really like this, but I also see a lot of people saying that it's episodes 7 and 8 where things pick up. But I'm just not getting it so far. I'm really not. So is there anything worthwhile at all? Well, yes. Kong himself. We finally get to see a little moment of Kong sort of just in his element, not just showing up randomly. I mean, he does kind of show up randomly, only given the setting, it feels like this is a place he's supposed to be, a place that really has nothing to do with what we've seen before, but whatever. So we get that brief moment of seeing him just sitting alone with these objects next to him. And even before Charlie spells it out for us, because apparently they're not sure we're going to get it, we can still tell he is sad. Something to do with those particular trinkets, which seem either those trinkets are way too big or Kong is way too small in this show. I'm not sure which it is. But it feels like it's clearly going somewhere, and then of course the episode ends the only way the writers could think to do so, by having a whale fly through the air and land in the middle of Kong's temple, which makes him angry. Apparently it's like the throwing down of the gauntlet that the Kraken did. I guess that's what we do now in the kaiju fandom. We say we are tossing the whale instead of throwing the gauntlet or something. Let's see if that catches on. Hashtag throw the whale. Make it happen. But beyond that, it's all just really set up this episode. And it still doesn't really feel like it's really grabbing me yet. Like I said, I'm not sure where everybody is coming from. What show have they been watching? It doesn't feel like the show I've been watching. I don't want to be doing these videos every time saying that I was underwhelmed or actively irritated. I wanted this show to be good. I don't actually root for things to fail, but this just isn't working with me so far. But then again, now that Kong is officially in the picture, hopefully, that means we're going to see more of him, and hopefully he'll bring something to the table, because general rule of thumb with these kind of movies is when the human cast fails to deliver, we can normally rely on the monsters at least to deliver. And when the monsters fail to deliver, you have the Polygon trilogy. So hopefully Kong's presence will help boost things. Fingers crossed, as many of them as I can. But we will see. I mean, we're already at the halfway point, and this show hasn't really done much to impress me. So, onward to the next episode, I guess. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni viewer signing off. Thank you all for watching. If you want to see us keep doing what we're doing, you might consider doing all the usual YouTube things, as well as hopping down to the description to find links to DeviantArt, Patreon, Twitter, and links for the different books in the Tales from the Omni Vault universe. Your support is naturally appreciated. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.